Hi, folks. Welcome to Money and Politics. As I record this, it is about 20 minutes before 10, so it's 9:40 a.m. Central Time on November 10. And last night, right after I did my other video on Voyager, Humbl third quarter earnings came out, which caught me somewhat by surprise. I was anticipating their release, but I thought it was going to be where Humbl was going to do a call. And I didn't want to do something last night because I hadn't had a chance until by the time I had a chance to even kind of glance over their earnings, it was like 8 o'clock at night. So I wanted to, before waiting till the end of today, I wanted to come to you with some thoughts on Humbl and maybe some other things. But let's get into it. So my overall thought, first of all, to give you this short and sweet of it, is this morning I bought more Humbl. So that should tell you something. Number two, the third quarter, number two, I should say that Brian Foote is going to put out a video call today, later today. So I don't want to go maybe as long as I would have gone because he's going to be talking and I'll record that when he comes out later today and we'll hear what he had to say. My overall first reaction that nothing was much of a surprise to me in there except for why the deal with Brighton Capital was relinquished, was broken. And I didn't want to be critical of that. I just thought that that was a key element in the strategy going forward, the deal with Brighton Capital. So that surprised me that had been ended. I'm told, and I'm kind of doing some of this because this morning Brian Foote brought out a couple of tweets here, a couple of graphics. And so this is one of them where he's saying, today, as of now, Humbl has $5 million in cash. Humbl's quarter-over-quarter revenue growth from the second quarter to the third quarter was 430%. Now, let me insert myself here for a minute. My idea was that the third quarter, and I think I said this on camera before, the third quarter was not going to be very meaningful because we just didn't have the business lines that came out right in the middle of September, about 10 days or so before we went to Nashville. We only had ticketing, the ticketing platform, and we only had the NFT gallery. Now, so they weren't going to be around long enough to show up in the third quarter in any meaningful way. And the company is so new still right now that I was, rather dismissive of the third quarter. I think what will matter is the fourth quarter and then the first quarter of next year. So that's number one. Number two, I'd like to say, in lieu of some of the ridiculous comments being made by some of the people, that folks, somebody just said, and it stuck with me, it kind of applies to Humbl indirectly. But wealthy people believe in deferred compensation. They buy assets that are going to pay off in the long run. They're not looking to get a paycheck. They're not looking to, buy something and flip it in a short run. Generally speaking, that's not the way. You buy an asset and it's going to go up over time. And that's how I look at Humbl. It's being created. It's been in the process of being created since, last December when they did their SPAC. Now, that said, let's cover some of the third quarter here. I'm going to move this thing over. It's bugging me. Let's see if I can. Let's do that. So let me go on here. Humbl quarter-over-quarter revenues are up 430%. Again, to me, I'm going to say, while that's okay, that's good, it's really rather in many ways meaningless because the second quarter, their revenues were meaningless. And so I'm, rather dismissive of the third quarter, other than to say that while the revenues in the big scope of things are not significant, they are in this realm. If you look at Tickery, and let's go down to this fourth button here. Tickery, since June 3rd, recognized revenues of approximately $389,000 generated from their almost $6.9 million in ticket sales, which exceeded the management estimates coming off the surge of COVID-19 from the Delta variant. So that is an important thing, that Tickery had sales of 6.9, I'm going to round up, 6.9 million, and we're still in this COVID deal. So what's significant isn't the dollar amount, but number one, it shows you that Humbl has, and again, congratulations to Brian Foote's strategy, which again, I'm not making this up now, I talked about it before. This is the low-hanging fruit. The peer-to-peer is going to be a monster revenue source, but it takes longer to get off the ground. And so what Brian has done with the Tickery deal that he did early in 2020 or 2021 is start a revenue source that could be immediate. So that is what's significant here, is that this shows you his strategy is working. And as we move forward with a better technology, Humbl has a better mousetrap for ticket sales. And we just got the ticket platform out in the middle of September, as I just mentioned. So what did we spend for Tickery? I think Thomas and I talked a little this morning. His recollection was it was about $20 million. Well, if you take 489,000, for simple math, let me just say that's 500,000. If you did 500,000 every quarter, and we don't want to do that every quarter, we want to do more, right? We want to have it after there's no COVID concern. But let's just take $500,000. If we did that for 4 quarters, that's $5 million, right? So you got it's $2 million, $2 million. So you're getting $2 million on the return on investment is still a very good return on investment. And it's going to grow because it's not going to be stagnant. So that's what I'm looking at. What I want to see, and when I talk about fourth quarter and then the first quarter of 2022, I want to see how are the ticket sales going from one full quarter to the next when they were kind of more established. Now, you might say that this gives you some idea, and it does give you some idea, and maybe this is the most significant part of this earnings part. It might be this. You go down, and we have Monster Creative recognized approximately $678,000 in revenue from as their team continues to provide service to major movie and streaming companies in Hollywood, and have added recognized artists to the NFT gallery, in those lines of selling NFTs. So I would like to see between the fourth quarter and the first quarter, how are the NFT sales going? Now we'll get some indication in the fourth quarter revenues report, which comes out roughly, it's Valentine's Day. Going through this a little faster here. Humbl was successful in amending our certificate of incorporation, which, as we know, just happened. That provided Humbl shareholders the security of a possible diluted event in December of this year, when we were able to provide reasonable selling limits on the Series B preferred stock. Humbl added 2 independent board members and set up an audit committee in the third quarter. In fact, their board member, the one board member, independent board member, was just added when we were in Nashville. They announced that day. That was right at the end of September. Humbl Pay team has completed a critical phase of our Humbl app. This is important. To incorporate a wallet that lets individuals buy, sell, and send and receive digital assets, execute a contract to bring in approximately 15 team members from Kelton Technology that will assist in fortifying ACH integration, account lockup, and block ETX integration with an estimated completion date by the end of Q1 2022. Okay, now having run a business, here's something else I like that you guys may not pick up on. This is why I like Brian Foote. I think he spends money wisely. He did a contract. They didn't have enough in-house technical people, but he doesn't want to go out and hire people. And then after the project is done, he's got all these employees that are burning cash. So he did a deal with Kelton Tech that brings in 15 plus team members to work on the project. And once the project's gone, those people are not employees sitting on the payroll. They're going to be gone too. He's not going to incur all the additional benefit costs that goes along with hiring an employee. Employees are necessary, but they're also a major pain in the butt as far as the cost of them, the managing of them, and you spend a lot of time with people trying to hire them. So for management, it's an ongoing issue. To hire crew members like this is a smart deal. Our Humbl Marketplace team has successfully launched Humbl tickets in September, as I mentioned, and our NFT gallery continues to grow with new artists and athletes. Now, let me flag this tape 12 minutes in. When we get to the fourth quarter, I am not, and this is me talking, I am not expecting there to have been a whole lot of sales from the NFT gallery. It's still such a new thing for so many people. We just set ours up, Humbl that is, and if we're going to be surprised by fourth quarter revenues, if I'm going to be surprised at least, I would be surprised by the amount of revenues coming in from NFT sales. I'm not expecting much. Okay, we have yet to advertise and get the name out and really, ring the bell, and that's going to come, but it's not happened yet. And so we are now in the fourth quarter. We've already completed 1 month of the fourth quarter. They just got the gallery up at the end of September. So if I'm surprised by fourth quarter earnings, it'll be what the NFT brings in. Also, if I'm surprised, or what I will be interested in the fourth quarter earnings, and again, we're talking about third quarter, just to be clear, but what I would be surprised by is going back to our ticket sales. Will our ticket sales exceed what we did in the third quarter? So the ticket sales, I hope, will be growing and growing stronger than what we did in the third quarter. So yes, I'm looking forward, but that's what I'm trying to tell you how I'm assessing the value of this company. Now, also, I don't go on stock twits. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I don't do it. It's not my thing. Thomas does, and so he helps me because he kind of shares with what some of the ideas are that on people's mind. Apparently, a lot of people, or at least a number of people, are complaining about the revenue or the debt that the company has relative to revenues. Well, folks, as I would say in a short order, this isn't a problem at this point, because it's like spending $20 million to buy an apartment house. And the rents come in, and in the first month you get I don't know, let's say $15,000 in rent. And people are going, oh my God, we only got $15,000 in rent and we spent $20 million. It's one quarter, it's, in that case, it's 1 month. You have to spend the money up front to get the revenues. And I mean, what Humbl did is they bought Monster and they bought Chicory. And, this incurred, they did it both with, again, what I like about Humbl, with Brian Foote, he used the currency of the stock to do some of these transactions, but he also had to come up with some cash. And so, yes, Humbl took on that debt to buy these businesses, but if you're getting the returns, of revenue stream, that's a good thing. It's a good use of capital to buy revenues or to buy something that's going to make you revenues. I mean, when I turned around the family printing business that was broke, the first thing I did is go out and borrow money because we needed to recapitalize the business. And I bought, I'm trying to just close this out for a second. I bought a printing press. This is back in 1980, 79. I bought a used printing press for $5,000. Well, that debt was on the books then. But I didn't do $5,000 in sales the first month. Because we were starting from almost, like I said, being a bankrupt company. I don't even remember if we did $5,000 back then in the first quarter on that press, but it was a great investment. It's what led to the ability, when I was running that business, to start getting revenues coming in. So when you look at this debt, don't worry about the fact that you're going to have some debt at this time. It's not a concern relative to the earnings. Now, what we want to see, what is critical, is as we get one quarter from the next, now that we have some business lines going, are we getting revenue growth? That's what I want to see, and that's what I was talking about with Chicory and the NFT Gallery. So as we go pick us up again, our Humbl financial team continues to add new customers to the ETX offering. I want to know about that too. I want to know how are the ETX revenues doing. And with the continued growth in digital assets, delivering improvements in real-time pricing, rebalancing transaction speeds, and a refactored order process moving towards inclusion in the Humbl Pay mobile app. Okay, so that's good to know. That's going to be another thing in the super app it's a work in progress, folks, and it's going to be the app in as every app is a work in progress. Our Humbl ambassadors and advisors coming off incredible showing in the Summer Olympics, where they received multiple gold medals, have assisted in brand recognition and furtherance of the Humbl name. We had our first ever Humbl shareholder event in Nashville, where we are excited to meet everyone that came out and enjoyed the great performances by the bands that played. And it was great. It was great. And as I've said before, never before in buying any stock did I ever have this sense of community like we have with Humbl. Now, that's all well and good, but of course we want to make money, and I'm not questioning that. So am I worried about the debt? No. Am I worried about the revenues? No. The short order, and the headline is, I bought more shares. I feel like I'm taking advantage of people that I'm buying these shares low, because the people who want to grow, want to become wealthier, should be buying, not selling. Because in my estimation, you have a company that is being led by someone who doesn't waste money in Brian Foote, that is building the business as he said he would, and adding strategies to bring in revenue in the short run as well as the long run. So he's got, if you want to compare it to golf, he's got a long game and a short game. And the short game is the ticket platform, Tickery. And now he's got the NFTs. And these are all, if you laid out what is the sequence of things you want to do, these are the things that we want Brian Foote to be doing. Now here's something, let me bring this up, and this is what someone else, I'm going to have to copy this because I just looked over. This is what I wanted to, and I apologize. Let me do this again. I'm going to copy what someone else posted here on Twitter. And okay, let's do it again. Sorry. I have to copy this to bring it in. All right. So let's, this is something having to do with the Brighton Capital that I wanted to bring to your attention. And I hadn't had a chance to copy this. So let me bring this in now. Okay. So what this is saying, and excuse me, because this is the thing I hadn't had a chance to see. In October, we received $4 million in cash from the exercise of warrants, and we are in the process of working on additional funding for the company that does not include highly dilutive instruments. We believe we have sufficient resources to achieve continued funding, which enabled us to terminate our ETF, our EFA, I should say, anyway, a loan agreement with Brighton Capital Partners, which was announced earlier this year. Okay, so that's good news too. And this goes back to what I was just saying about Brian Foote. He is not looking to be spending money where he doesn't have to be spending money. And he was getting his financing set up to where, he had the cash flow coming in, but now he thinks that he doesn't need to go that route. And so they did away with that agreement from Brighton Capital. So there again, that's more good news. I didn't know that till I just read that. That was the thing that I flagged. If there was anything I had of concern, it was possibly the deal that was the Brighton Capital being ended, because I didn't know why it was and who broke it or who put the kibosh on it. So it was Humbl Brian putting the kibosh on that, and that's good. That's good news. So, folks, what I see here in summary, and I've gone long, and we're going to hear more today from Brian. We'll see what I say against what he says later, which is also one reason why I wanted to bring that out. I don't see anything particularly troubling here. I think that, as I said in recap, the third quarter it's one dot on the graph. And it's a better dot than what we got from the second quarter earnings, because the second quarter earnings were meaningless. The third quarter earnings are not meaningless because we could get some of the sales, as we said, see from Tickery. But a lot of what we're talking about is some of these other developments. We got the ticketing platform, we got the NFT gallery opened, we hired a new board member. These are all, again, part of the infrastructure of building Humbl. And if you're looking for, as we all are, what are the, you know, what's going to drive the stock higher? It's going to be revenues and earnings. If they have a bunch of revenues and no earnings, they're losing money hand over foot, you know, that's not going to be real great. We want to see their revenue growth, and we want to see the earnings growth. And to the extent that Humbl goes out and buys businesses and incurs more debt, depending upon how the deals are structured, the debt is not a bad thing, it's a good thing, because you're buying revenue. And I mentioned this before. One thing that Brian said to me when I had the opportunity to talk to him in Nashville was that he doesn't plan on growing the revenues of Humbl merely through internal sales. He wants to have internal sales, have the business lines grow, but he also is always on the hunt to purchase other businesses that would fit into the overall strategy of Humbl. That's not a direct quote, but it's paraphrasing. Which means he doesn't, in the short run, he doesn't believe just in organic growth. He wants to go out and buy this revenue from other businesses. That is also a fast way to grow. And I have mentioned in the past, just to remind you, that that's one thing where Cisco was one of my big winners over the years of investing. They grew so fast because they were constantly buying other businesses and other technical businesses in their field. And we may see this. We are seeing, let's talk about the automobile industry of 100 years ago or 110 years ago. There were all these different cars. This is typical of a whole new industry. There was never an automobile industry before. So you had Chrysler and the Dodge brothers and the Duesenbergs and Ford. And there were probably, 50 different car companies. But they merged after a while. And so this is where you had General Motors, which was this accumulation of other car companies. So what we're seeing here is, I think, a company that is growing. It's on the right track. Okay, one last thing, and I apologize for going this long. I bought more Humbl today, but I also sold some, not all, I sold some TQQ. I sold it because knowing what I know about how the economy works, how businesses work, what's good for businesses, what's good for the stock market. Joe Biden his administration is doing everything bass-ackwards. What he's doing is stupid. They're creating inflation. Everything they're doing is nonsensical. And we saw today, with the CPI came out with explosive numbers. I wanted to get this on the air sooner rather than later, so I don't have that in front of me. But because we have been at the high of the markets, and as I said, the TQQ and the U-Pro are good things to have, but they also will go down 3 times faster. So you got to be sometimes, knowing when to back off of those. So while I love those as financial tools to grow your portfolio and to grow it much faster than just buying the S&P 500, you also have to have, as I talked about the other day, a sense of the economy. I'm concerned about the economy over certainly the next year. It's not to say it's going to go down. Kind of depends upon, money in politics depends upon what happens in Congress, and if we can get the Congress to continue to back off from some of these ridiculous bills that the president and his administration want to pass, if those can be blocked, that will be helpful. If they can't get tax increases passed, that will be helpful to keep the economy growing. And then if we can come out cleanly and reopen the economy fully and get past this supply chain blockage, all of that will be good. But in the short run, I was concerned, and I wanted to tell you, In the short run, the TQQ, I am concerned about that because it goes down 3 times faster. Again, I sold some earlier at 137, and today I sold some, I think it was right around 162. It was up to about 170 the other day. So let's take a look as I record this now. So right now it's at 165. That's why I didn't sell all, but this is where I had a lot of good profit in this, and I did go ahead and take some cash. As I've said many times before, this is why, and let's look at this over a 1-year period. You can see how it's been a great investment. But looking forward, I have some concerns, as I said, about the economy. So I didn't want to ignore those concerns, and I thought I'd put some money in cash and I could reduce the level of risk by reducing my position in the TQQ. And then I used some of that money, not all of it, to buy more Humbl, which I think was, oversold for wrong reasons. And as I close out, let me just bring Humbl back up. I wish this would hold on to this. HMBL. Let's just do a real quick read of where we are at the moment. So there we are with Humbl, 61 cents. And let me bring myself out of the picture here for a moment so I can. Okay, so we got pretty heavy volume. We're at almost 5.8 million shares, which are already at 10:15 in the AM, already exceeds the 10-day average of volume. But as I have said, and I had other people talk about this. One guy texted me and said, well, as you have said over and over, we're going to have to wait until we get the first quarter compared to the fourth quarter. And that will be far more meaningful. So, folks, any downside reaction to Humbl this morning and the negativity that you're hearing to me is misplaced. I'm heartened to see that we are going up because, again, every time it goes down, that's just foolish people. Kind of as I said the other day with InMode, you had people after their earnings, which were blockbuster earnings, selling InMode, and I said that is a chart of stupidity. So selling Humbl right now is, at the best, premature. I think you want to be here. You want to what was I? I'm just kind of curious what InMode is doing here. InMode, which had been on such a tear of late. And let me go to a 1-month chart. InMode, I continue to say I would buy this. It does say down in the lower left corner there that it's overvalued. In the short run, it might be overvalued. I'm not going to worry about the short run. It's got great future, great potential earnings, great revenue growth. So that's it, folks. Boy, I went a lot longer than I intended to. I hope you enjoy it. Let's we'll cover Humbl's news going on later today. I don't know when that will be as yet, but we'll be covering it, and I'll pull some bites as I always have in the past, and then we can discuss it again this afternoon. I would guess that Brian's going to be doing this after the market closes. So probably we'll be coming to you with my coverage of that. I'm going to guess in the around 5 o'clock Central Time. That's just an educated guess. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Leave me your comments, what you think after hearing my comments here. If you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong, and are you still solid on Humbl? What do you think of the third quarter earnings? I'd like to hear your feedback. And I know some people wanted me to join them last night on the Twitter Spaces. I just didn't want to jump in until I'd had more time to look at what the actual earnings report was and have a better sense of, what it said and where we were and get my thoughts together. And I feel better not having done anything now. I feel better, as I said earlier, my one concern was on why did the deal with Brighton Capital fall through? And now I know, it wasn't for a bad reason, it was for a good reason. That said, we'll see you this afternoon. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. In the meantime, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.